Hi folks, Rob Crompton here. I'd like to share with you some thoughts about the long journey that folk make after leaving the Watchtower movement. That can be quite a daunting journey, but there are ways in which we can try and make it a little easier, try and find our way a little more clearly. What do we face when first we step out of the Kingdom Hall, knowing that that's it, that part of our lives, that phase is over, and we face something new? What confronts the defector? Well, it may be something quite open like that. Where do you go there? Where indeed? More likely, though, it's going to be something like this. You're faced with a really quite puzzling selection of signs pointing in all sorts of directions. Or on the other hand, it may just be a brick wall. What do we do? Well, we can start out by trying to work out what those signs are telling us. The trouble is, though, some of those pointers can be misleading. Maybe we don't know the language. We're in a different culture altogether. But more likely, we know the language very well indeed. The trouble is, though, language can be quite ambiguous. Words can have a range of meaning, and some meanings might be ones that had never come to mind before. So I've got just 3 examples here from biblical discourse to show the point I'm trying to make. Don't worry, I'm not going to go off into some sermon about the gospel. I'm just using this to talk about words and how they mean things. These are ones that we're probably all very familiar with from our time in the Watchtower movement. Logos means word, doesn't it? Of course it does. Angelos, angel, heavenly being. What else could it mean? And Judaios, Jew, crops up many times as we read through the Gospels. But whilst we might think of these as being quite uncomplicated words that we are very, very familiar with, imagine someone else coming to reading these Gospel stories, but having no background at all in biblical thinking. Someone who's come to it from a study of classical Greek literature. Those words might signify something quite different. Logos doesn't just mean word, it's rationale or reason or pattern. It's the recipe for things. Angelos, not just a heavenly being, it's any sort of messenger. Indeed, when you look through the Gospels, you'll find that there are many occasions when that very word is used of very much human messengers. And Judaios, yes, it's where that word Jew comes from, but it basically means just Judean, the people living in and around Jerusalem, Judea. If we think of those meanings when we read that gospel story, well, it can seem very different. Our path in life can seem very different when we reflect upon the possibility that the words we're familiar with might just mean something else, might have a different significance. Let's think about the areas of life where misdirection can be lurking. In fact, pick 3 headings there. I think these are the very significant ones for people trying to make their way after leaving the Watchtower. Matters of religion and spirituality, thinking about ourselves and other people. And then, of course, the world out there that we're heading towards. Are we? Well, let's think about it. The words and phrases that we use to talk about these things might just misdirect us. Let's take the most central one of all, the idea of truth. What's true, what's not true. Indeed, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we all thought of ourselves, didn't we, as being in the truth. Truth is, well, it's the doctrines of the Watchtower movement. It's the doctrines, the teachings that God has given to us. And those truths are absolutely certain. In comparison with that, well, the rest, well, can't compete, can it? Well, we could have a range of truth or maybe truth, most probably correct or quite likely, or maybe, but can't be quite sure. And then getting it wrong. Honest mistake. Oh yes, we make lots of those. Careless or reckless mistakes. And then right at the other end, we've got intended deception, lies, deceit. Where does authoritarian religion fit into this analysis? Well, pretty obviously, really, would say that true religion, being revealed by God, has to be absolutely certain. There's no scope for ifs, buts. It's laid down by God. But of course, his people are only human, and they might make errors. But so far as the individual witness is concerned, whatever is taught has to be regarded as coming from God. It's absolutely certain. And all those others, those honest mistakes, careless mistakes or lies, well, they don't belong in religious teachings that are to be acceptable as the truth. Suppose we had to set aside, though, that assumption that true religion's what is revealed by God. What's going to follow from that? If no religion is of divine origin, then all of it has to be man-made. No question about that, is there? It's either from God or it's man-made. And the trouble is, in this context, man-made just means worthless or fraudulent. Man-made religion in this context means, well, deception. But let's think about the wider scope of human endeavour and thinking, what's true and what isn't? Compared with that ideal of God's truth, human thinking, well, we have to describe it at best, as well, only our best so far. And compared with God's truth, or perhaps we should say with the cult's beliefs, it can only ever count as poor mediocrity. Let's look at it a bit closer though. What does come under that heading, our best so far? Well, it's everything, except the teachings of the cult. It's current scientific understanding. It's the latest historical research, and so on and so on. And we could ask, who guarantees this for us? Compared with religious doctrine, who guarantees that for us? Pause and think about it. Who guarantees our best so far? Well, it's human achievement. It's the people who've been engaged in whatever pursuits we're talking about, whether it's science or historical research, the arts, and so on. It's human achievement. It's the people who devote their lives to a study, a practice of these things. And surely when we're looking at it that way, we have to say that, well, it's good, isn't it? Of course it's good. Who guarantees religious doctrine? Well, it's God, isn't it? Or else it's man-made and it's deception. But at this point, we could ask if all human achievements are just that and can't lay claim to absolute truth, they can still surely offer the possibility of more and perhaps better yet to come. So truth isn't going to be the only test of value of human achievement. Nobody is ever going to claim for scientific theory, research, and so on, the sort of absolute truth that the authoritarian cultist religious leaders claim for their doctrines. Think of it the other way. Could any form of religion stand alongside those human endeavors? And if so, what would that religion need to embrace or to discard in order to do so? We're asking really, could perhaps man-made religion be, well, maybe not all that bad after all? But let's put that to one side for now. It's something that we might want to come back to later if we wish to. But we might just want to leave it to one side, move on in life. Okay then, so where do we go next? Though we leave religion and spirituality behind, we still have to engage with the ways in which lingering thought patterns might hinder our next steps as we've left religion behind, but the thought processes, the ideas, the words might still get in the way as we think about that next area, that next stage in our journey, ourselves and others. Think about the words and phrases that we might associate with this topic whilst we're within the Watchtower movement, when thinking about people, how people are. Words like being sheep-like might come to mind. behaving with humility, never showing pride. No, pride is something to put behind us. We must be sheep-like and humble, accept the leadership, and indeed avoid independent thinking. And the trouble is, it's all too easy to carry that frame of mind onwards into our life beyond the watchtower. For the witness, those words and ideas are the ones that underpin the loyalty to the watchtower. The defector's got to discard everything that misleads and find that which is going to help and to encourage, to help us to move on in life. Let's focus on the one at the top there, humility versus pride. Suppose I say that I'm not very good at something. What am I talking about? Well, I can think of all sorts of things that I'm not very good at. But suppose I'm doing something which I have a fair bit of expertise with, and I still say, well, I'm not very good at it. What am I saying? Let me give you an example. Something years back when I was in college, starting the second year in college, there was a new intake of students, and I went to visit to welcome one of these new folk in his apartment, and when I stepped into his apartment, I saw that he'd brought with him a piano. I said, "Oh, John, you're a musician then, are you?" "Oh, no, I wouldn't describe us. No, not a musician. I just like to, play a tune now and again." Wouldn't call himself a musician. A few days later, I went into the college chapel. There he was, at the organ, playing. And he was super. He made that organ sing. It was lovely. Oh, no, I'm not a musician. If we dismiss our skills, our abilities like that, in the interests of being humble and not being proud, what are we saying to other people? We're surely saying, don't you even try. Don't you make any attempt. You look at me, you think I'm good. No, I'm no good. As for you, well, don't bother. The loyal witness can't take pride in any skill or pursuit except that which puts Jehovah first, that which defers to the Watchtower movement. But freedom has got to let us affirm those abilities and show gratitude for them. Be grateful that we have the ability to play a musical instrument. Be grateful that we have the ability to do something, to paint a picture, to engage in research. And if someone says, "Oh gosh, you're good at this," we don't say, "Oh, no," because that says to them, "Don't you even try." Say rather, "Well, I'm not the best, but I could help you on your way. Do you want to learn? Do you want to have a go? Come on." Or think of it. Think of it if you are still a believer in a God of some kind out there. Surely we can think of all our skills, our abilities as being gifts from God. Are we going to say, well, thank you, God, for these gifts you've given us, but they're not up to much, are they? They're not really any good. Let's be proud of what we've got, show gratitude for it, and use it to help others get a step on the ladder and learn to, well, develop their skills, their abilities, and so on. And then we come to independent thinking. Not allowed in the Watchtower movement. No, no. Take what's given from the top down. Don't try and work out things for yourselves. The Watchtower says no, but the defector says yes. Yes, I will think. And coming out of the Watchtower movement, something that will be heard frequently is commending critical thinking. Now, I'm not sure that I like that expression, critical thinking, because, well, it seems to mean reject. Instead, let's just think. Think analytically. That's the kind of thinking that likes to take things apart, see how they're made up, break it down into different steps, think about the various bits that go together to make up whatever it is we're trying to think about. Think collaboratively alongside other people. Let's work on this puzzle together. I'll think about it, I'll get where I can, and then you tell me where you have got to. Let's pool our resources and see if we can get a little bit further. And then let's think creatively. What if? What if? What if we do it a bit differently? What else? Think creatively. And then we come to the world out there. Where will we find a place? Where can there be a place for former Jehovah's Witness? We come out of the Watchtower movement with that picture of the world out there as being what characterized by all sorts of rottenness, lawlessness, drug addiction, immorality. Yes, there are decent folk, but, well, they're few and far between, surely. Where can there be a place for the former witness? Where are we going to find new friends? Well, we can find them. We certainly can find them, because the decent folk are much more numerous, far more numerous than the Watchtower ever let us think. Yes, but the trouble is, they don't understand our problems, do they? As ex-witnesses, we have particular problems that, well, they can't understand at all. Where can we find kindred spirits to become friends? Just change the focus. Instead of thinking about whether they can understand our problems, let's ask, could our experience help us to understand some of their problems? Think about the turmoil that we go through leaving the Watchtower movement. Think about the turmoil a workmate, a colleague goes through, going through a difficult divorce, having a breakup of a long relationship, can our experience help us to understand a little of the problems arising in that situation? As someone who was a close friend of their ex-partner, can they maintain those friendships? Does our experience help us to understand that situation? I think it could do, could well do. And then let's change the focus yet again. Think not of problems, but of questions, like how to return to education, for example, how to pick up talents that we've not been able to develop at all. How can we pursue interests and ambitions that we've had to suppress? Who can answer the questions? How can I get back on the educational ladder? It's not any of those people we have left behind in the Watchtower movement. It's the people out there who say to a colleague, a workmate, how could I get back into education at my age, at whatever? How could I start to learn a bit about painting? And our colleague might say, well, I don't know, but I'll tell you who does know. Go and see Mary. Go and see Jeff. Ask them. And this way, we discover that we're building up a network of potential friends, and we're also finding doorways into new and rewarding lives. And we come at last to that gateway, and we can see through it. It's not a brick wall, it's an opening. And this particular opening in this city wall, that leads on to some lovely places, does actually in both directions. It's a great area, this. Let's step through that gateway and get on with living in the real, exciting world, and don't let the past drag us back, hinder us. Live life to the full. Best wishes for that, folks. Bye.